There is a question many men carry silently through the years of growing older. They rarely say it out loud, yet it lingers quietly within. Do people still notice me? Does anyone still see something attractive in me, beyond the graying hair, the quieter gaze, and the fine lines at the corners of my mouth? You are not alone in these thoughts. At a morning cafe with sunlight slanting through the frosted glass, you might catch your reflection and wonder, does anyone still find me appealing? At work, wearing that same well-kept suit you have owned for years, you may notice a lingering glance from a younger colleague. Or during a class reunion, an old friend might lean in and quietly say, "You look really sharp these days." You might laugh it off, not thinking much of it. But the truth is, you might be more attractive now than ever. You just have not realized it yet. Society praises youth, that is true. But youth is not the only measure of charm. In middle age, a man no longer needs to say much or show off. He draws others in with something else, his presence. A calm confidence that comes from depth, a steady energy that does not rush, a quiet strength that makes others feel at ease. This article invites you to look again at 8 signs you may have noticed in daily life, but never connected to the idea of being attractive. These are small things, but if you notice them, they may be the world's gentle way of saying, you are drawing people in, and you deserve to know that. So ask yourself, have you ever caught someone's eyes lingering a bit longer than usual? Has someone come to you, not just for directions, but for your opinion? Maybe, just maybe, those moments were not as random as they seemed. 1. Younger women feel comfortable around you. There was a time, maybe while sitting in a quiet corner cafe, when you noticed the young waitress lingered just a little longer at your table. She was not in a rush like at the others. She smiled softly when asking what you would like, sometimes even asked about your watch. At first, you thought it was just part of her job, good service. But after a few more visits, when her questions turned more personal, where you work, how you like your coffee, or even simple things like, do you enjoy sitting here alone? You realized there was something else. Something in you made her feel safe enough to open up. In a world that often feels chaotic and pressured, young women are drawn to calmness like a shelter from the wind when they are near a man who is unhurried, who doesn't judge or expect anything more than a simple conversation. They feel free to be themselves. They can breathe more easily. The attraction here doesn't come from flashy looks. It comes from your presence, the steady way you sit, the eyes that truly listen, the quiet smile that carries no judgment. When a woman can laugh freely beside you, even about the smallest things, it means you have given her a safe space. And you know what? To a woman, that kind of space is more attractive than any smooth line or compliment. It makes her want to return, to sit near you just a little longer, because in that space, she gets to be exactly who she is. If you have ever found a young woman chatting with you for no clear reason, just smile. Maybe, just maybe, you are the place she chooses to rest in during the tired moments of her day. 2. You are often complimented on your style or grooming. One morning you stop by the bakery in a hurry to grab your usual bread before heading to the office. The young woman behind the counter handed it to you, then paused for a moment and said, "You look great in that shirt." You were surprised. It was a shirt you bought 3 years ago. Nothing fancy, just neatly pressed and fully buttoned. But her eyes were sincere, and in that moment you knew you had made an impression. Attractive men in middle age do not need expensive clothing, but they often carry a consistent sense of style. Neat, well-fitted, never flashy, but just enough to show they care for themselves. A crisp shirt, a light scent of cologne, a tidy haircut. These small details say one thing clearly: you respect yourself. Women notice this when they see a man who pays attention to his appearance, without being overly focused on it. They often sense something deeper. This man likely notices how others feel too. A middle-aged man who pairs a clean shirt with simple khakis, soft leather shoes, and an old metal watch does not have to say a word. He already carries the quiet confidence of someone who knows who he is and that more than anything is truly attractive. Next time you look in the mirror before leaving the house, add a small touch of care. Smooth your hair, adjust your collar, choose a scent that feels just right, not to impress others, but to remind yourself, I deserve to step into the world feeling my best. 3. People often look at you longer than usual. One afternoon, you were sitting in the park, waiting for an old friend. It was an October day, cool and quiet, with soft sunlight falling over the aging trees. You chose a stone bench by the lake, holding an old book in your hand, not paying much attention to the world around you. Then you noticed a woman walking by. Her eyes passed over you and paused. It was not a quick glance, not curiosity. It was a slow, steady look, as if she were taking something in, measuring it, saving it. You turned slightly. She gave a gentle smile, then kept walking. Just a fleeting moment. But it stayed with you. Attraction in middle age is not about sharp features or a perfect figure. It lives in your presence, something no one else can copy. The way you walk into a cafe with quiet confidence. The way you wait at the crosswalk without checking your phone. The way your hand rests calmly on the table. All of these send a message without words. Women are not looking because they are curious. They look because your presence speaks to something deeper. Their gaze lingers not because you are trying to be noticed, but because you do not need to try. When someone looks at you a little longer than expected, do not rush to think it is strange. Maybe it is your calm, your depth, your thoughtful eyes that awaken something quiet in them. A subtle trust that whispers, "This man, he may not be young, but there is something about him that makes me want to come closer." That is a kind of attraction time cannot take away, and you have it, even if you have never called it by name. 4. You are asked for advice, opinions, or help. One rainy afternoon, you were busy setting up a fallen motorbike in the parking lot when your young neighbor walked over. She smiled shyly, holding a leaky water valve in her hand. "Uncle, do you know what's wrong with this?" You took a look, said a few words. That should have been the end of it. But then, as if she had been waiting for the moment, she sat down beside you and began to talk about her short-tempered boyfriend, about feeling lost in her own home. You are not a trained therapist, but with your calm and steady presence, you listened. You did not interrupt. You did not judge. You nodded now and then, asked a gentle question here or there. And soon enough, she had shared a chapter of her life. Women are often drawn to men who offer a sense of emotional safety. Not everyone who speaks well earns trust, but a man who listens with his eyes and responds from life experience holds a quiet kind of magnetism. When someone asks you, "What do you think?" or "What would you do if you were me?" it is not just about your age. It is about trust. They believe you can offer guidance. Your life experience, paired with emotional steadiness, makes you a kind of anchor without needing to prove anything. If in your daily life, people often come to you for personal advice, whether it is a young coworker, an office assistant, or an old friend, know that it is not only because you are kind. It is because something in your presence makes them feel safe enough to open up. And that kind of unspoken trust, quiet, deep, and real, is its own form of powerful attraction. 5. You have a calm, confident presence without needing to show off. During an internal meeting at work, while the team was deep in a heated debate about a new plan, you sat quietly in the corner of the room. Your hands rested gently in front of you, your eyes following each person as they spoke. You did not interrupt. You did not rush to share your opinion. But when the room finally settled, you spoke, your voice low and clear, not loud, but steady enough to make everyone pause and listen. What you said was not groundbreaking. It was not the voice of a public speaker, but the way you said it, the rhythm of your words, the thoughtful pause before you spoke, made people nod in agreement. After the meeting, someone came over and gave your shoulder a tap. You don't say much, but when you do, it hits home. That is a very masculine kind of attraction. Presence without taking up space. You do not need to be loud. You do not need to push your way in. And still, people make room for you, not out of fear, but out of respect. Women are more attuned to this than you might think. They can sense the difference between real confidence and someone pretending to have it. A man with inner calm, seen in the way he sits upright, breathes evenly, and watches with quiet focus, creates a deep sense of safety. He does not rush. He does not brag, but he carries a quiet energy that says, with him there's no need to hurry. If you find that people often listen when you speak, or ask for your help even when you have not offered, you may be giving off a rare kind of pull, steadiness. And at this stage of life, steadiness is the softest light many are looking for in a noisy world. You do not need to perform. You just need to be who you are, calm, steady, and deeply grounded. 6. You are complimented on your physical strength or energy. One Sunday morning, you joined an old group of friends for a long hike. After nearly 2 hours of climbing hills and walking over rocky ground, the group finally sat down under the shade of a tree to rest. Someone laughed and said, "You're still going strong. We're all tired and you're barely breaking a sweat." You just smiled, wiped your forehead with a small towel, and passed your water bottle to the person next to you. You do not need a bodybuilder's frame or six-pack. Attraction in middle age often shows in smaller ways. Your steady stride, the smooth way you step out of a car, the quiet flexibility in your arms, when you stretch without a single pop in your joints. It is a kind of vitality that makes others feel You are still full of energy. Not the restless energy of your 20s, but a slower, more lasting kind. Women notice this. They do not just look at your shape. They see how you move. They see how you stand tall in a crowd, how you walk long distances without complaint, how you lift something heavy without making a fuss. When someone says, "You're in great shape," or "You're really active," they are not only complimenting your body, they are recognizing the spirit behind it. A mindset that does not give in to laziness, that keeps showing up with quiet strength. And here's what matters most. When you take care of your health, you do not only appear more attractive physically, you send a deeper message that you still have energy to live, to love, to share the road with someone. So if anyone has ever told you, you still look strong, receive it as more than a compliment. It is a sign of respect for a man who takes care of himself, who values life, and who never lets go of his inner vitality. 7. Women laugh at your jokes even when they are a little flat. At a small get-together at a close friend's house, you told an old story. Your tone was steady and calm, just like always. And near the end, you added a light joke. If I had been a little better looking back then, maybe I'd be on the cover of a magazine by now. The group laughed out loud, but you noticed the woman sitting across from you laughed a bit longer, her eyes shining. Your joke wasn't especially clever. There was no sharp wit or polished punchline. If we are being honest, it was a little flat, but someone still laughed. Why? Because when a woman likes you, your sense of humor becomes charming. Even if it is just a passing comment, they are not laughing at your words alone. They are laughing because of how they feel around you, safe, close at ease. Humor in a middle-aged man is not about loud jokes or wild stories. It comes from knowing how to ease tension, how to add a warm pause in a conversation. Sometimes it is just one line, in the right place, at the right time, and it brings comfort to the moment. Women love men who make them laugh, but more than that, they are drawn to someone who helps them feel accepted. When you joke in a way that is light, unforced, and free of pressure, you create a space where others can simply be themselves. They feel free. They feel heard. They can let their guard down. So next time you say something silly and someone still laughs with joy, don't be too quick to feel embarrassed. Maybe in her smile in that moment of laughter, there is a quiet sign that you are building a deeper connection than you ever meant to. 8. You notice the subtle signs of interest. Maybe you were standing in line to buy a movie ticket, and the young woman in front of you turned around and asked, "You like this genre too?" Then stayed to chat a bit, even though the line was still moving. Or at a company gathering, you noticed a female colleague who kept asking your thoughts on the food, and then gradually sat just a little closer than needed. You might have once brushed it off as simple politeness, but when these moments start adding up, when someone looks at you, then quickly turns away, or remembers your dog's name, the kind of coffee you like, it might not be just coincidence anymore. Women do not always express interest directly, but when they notice the small things about you, your habits, preferences, little details about how you look, it is their way of saying, "I see you," and when they make room to be near you, laugh more with you, or gently touch your shoulder while talking. That is a quiet invitation for connection. A seasoned man often knows how to recognize these signs, not to show off, not to rush, but to appreciate the attention, the gentle courage from the other side. Because it is not always easy for a woman to show she cares, especially when the man she notices is no longer in his 20s. If you have ever felt unsure about a glance that lingered a bit too long, or a question that seemed casual but felt personal, trust what you sensed. You are being noticed. Your attractiveness has gone beyond the surface. It has reached into the emotional space, a place only the sensitive truly perceive. And when you can respond to those signs with calm and appreciation, you are not just attractive, you are trustworthy. You are someone worth loving. Conclusion. You may have once believed that youth was the peak of attraction, but the truth is charm does not lie in age. It lies in how you show up in the world. In middle age, your skin may no longer be smooth. Your eyes may not always sparkle, but you now carry something time cannot give to the young. Maturity. You attract others not because you chase after standards, but because you have lived through enough to know what truly matters. You do not speak much, but when you do, your words carry weight. You do not need to try hard to stand out, because you, with your calm presence, experienced gaze, and steady posture, are already a quiet anchor to those around you. Real attraction comes from the way people feel. When they are near you, it may be the feeling of being heard, being respected, being safe. It is the quiet reassurance, that no matter how shaky life becomes, there is still someone like you, calm, steady, and warm, silently holding space. And if you found parts of yourself in the signs shared throughout this piece, from a lingering look to the moments when people listen to you seek your help or simply offer a kind compliment, do not dismiss them as mere coincidence. They are the result of how you live, how you treat others, and how you care for yourself. You do not need to become someone else. Just keep living by your values and believe that the world still makes room for the quiet, deep kind of attraction you carry. And if this reflection has felt like a gentle reminder to you, please consider sharing it with other men. Somewhere out there, someone may need to hear this truth, that he is still captivating, still worthy, and never once forgotten by the world around him.